In this Big Tractor Power video, I'm going to take some time to answer questions that came in from our fans about our previous video titled A 2,800 Acre Cornfield Being Harvested by 5 John Deere S690 Combines. If you haven't watched that video, I'll put a direct link in the description area in this YouTube video so you can watch that and then come back to see the questions and answers that came up from the video. The 2,800 acre cornfield is part of a farm's total 13,000 acres of corn that are harvested here in western Kentucky. Questions that came in from our fans were about the size and scope of the 2,800 acre field, the crop conditions in which the corn was being harvested, why the farm uses 420 horsepower articulated four-wheel drives on their grain carts, how many trucks does it take to keep up with the 5 Class 9 combines, and what type of grain bin system does the farm have to keep up with a total of 13,000 acres of corn being harvested. And I'll use video clips that I have filmed throughout the year on this farm to answer those questions. So I hope that you'll enjoy this Big Tractor Power video and find it informative. One of the first questions that we had from some of our fans was about the size and scope of the field. They asked, is this really a 2,800 acre cornfield? I'm not sure what to tell you a 2,800 acre cornfield looks like other than to show you this drone footage and say yes, it is every bit of 2,800 acres. The field is located just north of the town of Pembroke, Kentucky, and wherever you see harvested tracks from the combines and grain carts, we've got the drone footage here to show you, but also look way out into the horizon where the green to tan fall colored corn is, way out there under the text that just popped up. That's all part of this field. Wherever you see corn, that is all part of this massive field in operation. Another popular question that came from the 2,800 acre corn harvest video was about all the weeds that you see in between the rows of corn as the Class 9 John Deere S690 combines harvest the corn. One person even commented, this farm must not have much of a herbicide program. Well, the farm is actually very well equipped to handle all sorts of herbicide and fungicide applications to make sure that they have a healthy yield. They actually operate 3 John Deere R4045 sprayers with 120-foot booms, as well as a Hagie sprayer, which applies fungicide after the corn tassels out to make sure that they have a top yield. The reason you're seeing all these weeds behind the combines is because here in western Kentucky, corn is harvested from early August through September. That's in summer conditions of 90-degree heat, summer rains, and as soon as the corn starts to dry down, the leaves shrink back and expose the dirt between the rows of corn, and the weeds pop up. It's just a very temporary condition. The corn has already made all the yield it's going to make, so the weeds have not hurt the crop. And winter wheat follows the majority of corn acres here in western Kentucky. So this field is plowed up, the weeds are turned under, and winter wheat is sown into the ground for the next year's crop. So the weeds are a temporary nuisance. They're not a problem to the yield, and it's just something very common here in the southern climate of Kentucky because corn is not harvested after a frost. So there's all sorts of weeds that are going to pop up, but again, a very temporary problem because they're going to be plowed right under for next year's crop of winter wheat. Several Big Tractor Power fans were interested in the green leaves that were still on the corn plants in the 2,800 acre corn harvest video and asked if it was being harvested for high moisture for animal feed. The corn in the video was shelling out at 22% the day it was filmed, and the majority of the crop in the region is processed by our local ethanol plant for fuel, and other parts of the crop are sold to distillers like Jack Daniels in Nashville, Tennessee. While 22% is a little high for many Midwestern farms, here in Kentucky, the farms have to start early harvesting their corn because a majority of the corn acres, I would say at least 95% in western Kentucky, go into a winter wheat crop. So the farms have to be able to harvest their crop, then come back, fertilize, and many use tillage practices and some no-till, but there are several passes that have to be made over the field in order to get the crop harvested and the winter wheat in the ground in a timely manner. In this next segment of the video, I'm going to take you through the steps that this farm goes through after harvesting corn to get their land ready to plant winter wheat. The farm seeds a total of 11,000 acres of winter wheat, and that's why they start harvesting the corn a little bit green in early August, because by October 10th, they need to start seeding the wheat into the ground. The farm utilizes 5 John Deere S690 combines to harvest a total of 13,000 acres of corn here in western Kentucky. It takes a total of about 6 weeks for the farm to harvest all their acreage. This 2,800 acre field, which we see the combines working in, takes anywhere from 3 to 5 days to harvest alone. After the combines have completed harvesting the field, our local elevator applies a dry granular fertilizer to the field before the winter wheat is sown. This fertilizer helps the wheat get off to a good start in the month of October, and then nitrogen is applied to the field during the winter months, and a second nitrogen application is made in the spring. And this helps the winter wheat crop reach its best possible yield. The winter wheat will be harvested in the month of June, and then directly behind the combines, a second crop of soybeans will be seeded into the field. And this is an important part of the ag economy in western Kentucky, to rotate from corn to winter wheat and then have that second crop of double crop soybeans. This dry fertilizer is a residual fertilizer that will also help the beans grow over the summer months in the next season. This farm's next step in preparing the land to plant winter wheat is to disc all the ground. The farm utilizes 7 large Wishick discs to disc up all the ground. These large discs cut up the corn stalks and bury the weeds that we saw growing, and it really loosens up the ground and gets it ready for a good solid seed bed to plant the winter wheat in. The Wishick discs do a great job in working up a good solid seed bed for the winter wheat crop. These large discs break up all the residue left from the corn stalks. They bury the weeds and incorporate the fertilizer spread out in the field. You can see the nice seed bed that the Wishick discs leave behind. There's a lot of ruts left by the combines and the grain carts working back and forth during the harvest, and these discs leave a good solid seed bed that's going to yield a good winter wheat crop. It also helps smooth out the field from all the ruts left by the combines and the grain carts working back and forth during the harvest. And you can just see what a perfect job the Wishicks do during the tillage process, getting the field ready for wheat. The farm makes a second tillage pass after the Wishick discs and before the air seeders start putting the wheat in the ground. They use McFarlane harrows just to drag out the surface of the field. This knocks down any ridges left by the discs or large clumps of soil and the root balls from the corn, and it leaves a really nice smooth surface for the seeders to start drilling the wheat into the ground. We're back in the 2,800 acre field 2 months after the crop had been harvested. The start date for planting winter wheat in western Kentucky is October 10th. And this farm is seeding a total of 11,000 acres of wheat, utilizing 3 60-foot Horst Anderson air drills equipped with 500 bushel grain tanks. The farm uses 620 horsepower John Deere 9620R 4-wheel drives to seed their crops, and these big air drills do a great job in moving across the acreage in a fast and timely manner and precisely placing the winter wheat seed in the ground. We can see that the Wishick discs did a great job in sizing up the corn stalks and burying all the residue and weeds, and then the McFarlane harrow made the field completely smooth in a simple and easy pass. But there's a lot of steps that have to take place from the corn harvest in August through October 10th in order to have a good seed bed for the winter wheat crop that follows the corn here in western Kentucky. Another question some of our viewers had in the video was, why does the farm use 420 horsepower John Deere 9420R 4-wheel drives to pull the Kinsey 1100 grain carts? One person even asked, why not just put a 200 horsepower tractor on it? Well, these are big, heavy grain carts, and they're filled up with a lot of corn, and they're heavy, and the farm needs to move fast from the combines to the trucks, and they also need good pulling power and stopping power, and a big heavy articulated 4-wheel drive accomplishes that. These 9420Rs also do a lot of jobs on the farm. They're in the field probably about 11 months out of 12 months in the year, and they do a lot of jobs from planting to grain cart hauling and tillage, and we'll show you some video clips of the tractors throughout the season on the farm. The John Deere 9420R four-wheel drive tractor is one of the most used machines on this farm throughout the year. In the spring, a total of 5 John Deere 9420R four-wheel drives are used to pull 5 24-row Kinsey planters to plant all 13,000 acres of the farm's corn crop. And these tractors work very well because they hold starter fertilizer tanks on the front of the tractors, and that's a lot of weight to be moving through the field, and then they pull the planters through the field at a good pace and help transport them on the road very well. So they're just an overall solid, good utility size tractor for this farm, for the acreage it's working, and they are used as a planter tractor, and then we'll see them used throughout the grain cart season and the tillage season here as we move through the video. As we pan across this 1,000-acre section, we can see all 5 John Deere 9420R four-wheel drives working together with the 24-row planters to get the crop in the ground. In the spring of 2017, these 5 tractors and planters seeded all 13,000 acres of corn in just 6 days. Here we can see the John Deere 9420R four-wheel drive set up for springtime planting. It's got the large chemical tanks mounted on the front of the tractor, as well as another tank mounted on the planter. That adds a lot of weight that needs power to be pulled through the field. It's working in almost no-till conditions. The field is V-ripped in the fall, and then the McFarlane harrows come across in the spring and smooth out the surface, but the ground is still pretty hard, and it's got the row openers on the Kinsey 4900 planter. It takes a lot of hydraulic power to run this planter and pull it through the field at a pretty good pace. They're planting at about 6 to 7 miles per hour, and all 420 horsepower comes into play, pulling the weight and running the hydraulics to get this corn crop in the ground. 4 of the 5 John Deere 9420R four-wheel drives are used for grain carting during winter wheat, corn, and soybean harvest. Here we can see all 4 John Deere 9420Rs hooked up to the Kinsey 1100 grain carts as they begin harvesting a wheat field here in western Kentucky in the month of June. It's always impressive to see these big tractors coordinated. They are running back and forth in winter wheat, keeping 8 combines running. They're keeping 5 combines running in corn and then 6 combines in soybeans. So it's important to have that speed and power to just keep on rolling back and forth from the combines to the trucks to keep the harvest on pace. In the fall, 3 of the 5 John Deere 9420Rs are used to work up corn ground ahead of the winter wheat planting season. They are equipped with 26-foot Wishick discs, which do a great job in sizing up the corn stalks and preparing the seedbed. The 3 420 horsepower John Deere four-wheel drive tractors and the 3 Wishick 862 NT discs work up the corn ground ahead of the air drills that will seed the winter wheat. The tractors will be working up over 11,000 acres of corn stalks, and they are part of a crew of 7 big tractors and discs. The other 4 tractors in that tillage fleet are over 600 horsepower and are pulling 34-foot Wishick 862 NT discs, and they've got a lot of ground to cover in a short amount of time to be ready to start seeding the winter wheat by October 10th. After the soybean harvest, the John Deere 9420R four-wheel drives and other tractors on the farm are all pulled into service and hooked up to John Deere 915 V-rippers for fall tillage. There will be a total of 11 tractors running V-rippers from 11 shanks all the way down to 5 shanks running on the farm. Here we can see a spot where 8 of the big tractors from 620 horsepower all the way down to 245 horsepower got lined up, including 4 of the big 420 horsepower John Deere 9420Rs running the 7 shank John Deere 915 V-rippers. and they all help break up the compaction, getting the ground ready for the next year's corn crop. As you can see from this segment of the video, the 420 horsepower John Deere 9420R 4-wheel drives are a key machine on this farm. They do a lot of work from tillage to planting to grain carting, and they see work several months of the year and do a lot of jobs to help the crops get in the ground and to get back into the grain bin on the farm. Another question that came up from the 2,800 acre corn harvest was, how many trucks does it take to keep up with 5 John Deere S690 combines and 4 Kinsey 1100 grain carts? And we'll take a look at that in this next segment of the video. The farm runs 15 semi-trucks to keep up with the 5 John Deere S690 combines during the corn harvest. These trucks roll from the field back to the farm throughout the day, hauling the corn to the grain bin system. These trucks are an integral part of the operation to make sure that the combines are moving and that the grain is getting into storage. In the next segment of the video, we'll take a look at the trucks pulling into the field, being filled up by the 1,000 bushel Kinsey 1100 grain carts, and then heading back to the farm, where we'll take a look at the farm's grain bin system that handles all the corn coming in from the 15 semi-trucks. Semi-trucks, like this Mack truck, are an important part of the corn harvest. These trucks, hauling 1,000 bushel trailers, help move the corn from the field to the bin back at the farm. As the 1,000 bushel Mack truck moves into position, we'll see the John Deere 9420R move on and load the truck up so it can haul the corn back to the farm. Here we can see the Kinsey 1100 grain cart as it unloads corn into the semi-truck. This 1,000 bushel grain cart can move a lot of corn in a short period of time. The tractor's PTO, which is a drive line that comes out of the back of the tractor, powers the cart as it unloads all the corn up into the truck. large tracks help reduce compaction on the field. Compaction reduces the growth of the plant, so the farm likes to keep as much weight off the ground as possible. Once the corn is loaded, the trucks are ready to haul the corn back to the farm and load it in the grain bin system. In our last segment of the video, we're going to take a look at the farm's 3 million bushel grain bin system. Many of our viewers over the years have asked to see the grain bin system, and here it is. We'll take a bird's eye view of all the grain bins. The system holds over 3 million bushels of grain. It has 2 tower dryers to help dry down the grain as it heads into storage. And we'll take a look at the semi-trucks coming into the farm and unloading the corn from the field. Here we can see the truck driver's perspective as they pull into the yard. Again, you can see those 2 tower dryers, the wet bin, and then the entire storage facility. So in the next segment, we'll just watch the Mack trucks pull in from the field and unload into the grain pit where the corn is conveyed up into the grain bin system. When the truck comes in from the field, it pulls over these 2 grates where the corn will be emptied. Trailer carries 1,000 bushels of corn. Empties out into the grate. I hope that you've enjoyed this Big Tractor Power video featuring a question and answer session about the 2,800 acre cornfield and the corn harvest on this large farm here in western Kentucky. If you'd like to see more videos from Big Tractor Power, check out our YouTube channel with over 1,000 videos of farm equipment in action. You can also follow us on social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We share pictures and farm equipment history on Facebook each day. And if you like Instagram, make sure to check us out, Big Tractor Power, where we share pictures and short video clips of what we're currently filming out in the field. As always, thank you for watching Big Tractor Power.